about you, Fish? When you going home? Fish. Fish.
Where you from, Fisher?
I'm from under a rock.
Where'd you spend your childhood?
Antoine Fisher is undoubtedly one of those rare films that resonates deeply and lingers in your thoughts long after the credits roll. The story is a shock of reality that gives voice to the many silenced voices of men and women in our society who went through a traumatic childhood or adolescence and are still battling the demons of their past. Denzel Washington's directing debut is a hidden gem that delves into the remarkable journey of a young man as he confronts the scars of his troubled past while navigating the challenges of his present. Antoine Fisher captures the essence of the human spirit's ability to triumph over adversity and emphasizes one central idea: healing is necessary to overcome the past and move forward. Let's take a deep dive and explore what makes this film so powerful and inspiring. Welcome to Hustlers in the Hood. Antoine Fisher begins with a dream image that will resonate through the film. The eponymous Antoine, as a child, is welcomed to a dinner table by all the members of his family, past and present. We learn fast that this idyllic dream is a far cry from reality, as Antoine's life is, in fact, devoid of any familial relationship. The extraordinary story behind the film offers hope to angry young men struggling to put a harsh past behind them and move on. It also zeroes in on the universal longing we all have for acceptance within the family circle. The Antoine Fisher story is a story of confronting the past, seeking professional help, and opening oneself to relationships that nourish the soul. It is a lesson in healing. One of the major themes developed in the film include the need to be connected to one's family and forgiveness. There was an urgent need for Antoine to find his family, and he must forgive those who have hurt him before his anger literally destroys him. Written by Antoine Fisher himself and inspired by his autobiography, this film tells the story of how a young American man confronted the demons of his past in order to come to terms with his origin. At age 24, Antoine Fisher is a Navy sailor stationed in San Diego, California. During his time in the Navy, he developed a friendly bond with two fellow officers,
Man, what's up with you in the exchange?
Porkchop and Slim,
What?
who would often hang out with Berkeley
With all these women in here?
and Grayson. These latter two frequently ended up triggering Antoine's past emotional traumas through negative comments disguised as jokes.
Let me see the cover. Slave community. What you reading that shit for?
Because I want to.
Or with double intentions,
What's that on your face?
resulting in many of their interactions escalating into fights. Antoine has anger issues. His violent hair-trigger reactions to almost every confrontation and verbal goading lands him in the office of Navy psychiatrist Dr. Jerome Davenport. Antoine refuses to speak and spends several sessions squirming in silence, a decision that's fine with Davenport, who patiently keeps rescheduling him for weekly one-hour sessions and doing paperwork while the silent young man sits in the room. When Antoine finally decides to speak, he does in fits and spurs.
Where'd you spend your childhood?
Cleveland.
Parents still live there?
I never had any parents.
That would make you a medical miracle, Seaman Fisher. Where you from?
I'm from under a rock.
But we are soon introduced to the heart-rending stories of a lonely, abusive childhood in a series of flashback scenes, and it soon becomes apparent why he was reluctant at first to open up about it. Antoine's father was shot to death 2 months before he was born in prison, and subsequently turned over to state authorities by his mother, who declines to take him home. He doesn't know why his mother never came back for him. He feels disconnected, abandoned, and betrayed. At age 7, while living in Cleveland, little Antoine is regularly beaten by his foster mother, Mrs. Tate. Antoine spends most of his nightmarish childhood feeling worthless and trying to psych out Mrs. Tate's mood. Unfortunately, his foster mother is not the only monster in his life. He became homeless at age 17 and lived on the streets for years. Antoine then joined the Navy and found he could travel the world, work with people from all different backgrounds, and hone his inner confidence. Davenport listens carefully to Antoine's story and is stunned by the immenseness of his suffering at the hands of those who were supposed to love, protect, and nurture him in an environment conducive to the development of his self-esteem. Unbeknownst to him, there is one crucial part of Antoine's past that he is yet to reveal, a part that now largely influences his life and outlook. At one point, Antoine gives Davenport a poem he's written that expresses what he's been through and who he truly is.
Who will cry for the little boy, lost and all alone? Who will cry for the little boy? He cried himself to sleep.
Who will cry for the little boy, the boy inside the man? Who will cry for the little boy who cries inside of me?
In the weeks that follow his first conversation with Davenport, Fisher's tension eases. He begins to gain perspective on his painful history. Much to his surprise, a beautiful father-son relationship begins to blossom between him and the psychiatrist. On the other hand, he also starts developing a sweet romantic friendship with another young sailor, Cheryl Smalley. He feels a pull from Cheryl immediately when they meet, but he was extremely shy, hesitant, and a little afraid. Hence, when Cheryl asked him out, he lied and told her he was on restriction because he's working on a secret high-priority paper. At another time, Cheryl again asks if they could hang out. Reticent and nervous about a date with her, Antoine again makes an excuse and says maybe in 2 days he'll meet her. Meanwhile, he goes to Davenport for advice on how to handle his feelings towards Cheryl. Antoine says,
I get caught up, tongue-tied. I get caught up in the
Everybody's awkward at first.
So what should I do?
Davenport advises Antoine to relax and have fun, but he also speaks on Antoine's need to be cautious, open, and honest. Meanwhile, while on leave in Mexico, Antoine gets into a fight with his fellow sailor, Grayson, who insinuates that he is gay.
Yeah, faggot.
Here we go again.
And is thrown into jail. This development seems to take Antoine steps back from the progress he's made, but we soon find out that his sexuality is a sensitive topic for him. In fact, this and his initial shyness and cluelessness with Cheryl are all telltales of that part of his life he's kept locked away from Davenport. Davenport meets Antoine in jail, and that is when he confides the sexual abuse he suffered as a child. We see, very sadly through flashback scenes, that Antoine suffered years of being sexually molested by his foster mother's adult niece, Nadine, in the basement of his home. This abuse developed severe psychological effects, which essentially reinforced his inability to develop relationships, especially with women. Now we see why he was the way he was with Cheryl when they first met. If you're enjoying this video so far, please leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel to join our community. Your support also plays a big role in giving the video a boost on YouTube, helping us positively impact the lives of even more people. Now, let's get back into it. One of the beautiful milestones and turning points in Antoine's story is when he chose to be honest and vulnerable with Cheryl. Sitting by the ocean, he asks if he can be honest with her, and then proceeds to tell her that he is seeing a psychiatrist. She replies in an empathetic and validating way, saying that her father went to a psychiatrist to deal with the fallout of his war experience. Feeling validated and safe, Antoine continues to open up more and tell her about his difficult childhood. Toward the end, he admits to her that he was afraid to even approach her. Cheryl might not have realized it immediately, but this marked the point when Antoine knew without a doubt that he had finally found his safe place in a world that had been cruel to him. Throughout the rest of the movie, we see how influential Cheryl became in the unfolding of Antoine's story. Indeed, finding the right person can completely change the course of a man's life. Things have at last fallen into place. Life is going well. At least that's what Antoine thinks, until Davenport drops a bombshell on him. Before complete healing and forgiveness can occur, Antoine needs to contact his family including the mother he never knew.
Regard without ill will despite an offense. That's Webster's definition of forgiveness.
Why do I have to forgive?
To free yourself, so that you can get on with your life.
Antoine resists the doctor's recommendation and explodes in helplessness after Davenport tells him that the therapy sessions are over and he must continue on his own. This leads him to reveal how he lost his best friend, Jesse, in front of him some time ago.
Jess, hey, hold up, Fish. Hey, you better break off my loot. Hey, Jess, hey, look out for me, Fish.
Finally, with Cheryl's gentle insistence and together with her, he flies back to Cleveland. And that is when we discover the extraordinary power of confrontations, especially the one with his foster mother and her niece who had sexually abused him. While not everything goes as he had hoped, the trip back to Cleveland yields many rewards for Antoine, who begins to realize the enormous inner strength he carries that has enabled him to weather the terrible storms of his past and emerge as the smart and sensitive young man he had become. This prompts the beginning of his healing, an experience that extends even to the people around him like Davenport. One of the most groundbreaking scenes of the movie occurs when all efforts to find his family falls through. Instead of giving up and returning home, Cheryl encourages Antoine to go to his foster mother to see if she'll have any information about his birth father. In what has become one of the most touching scenes in film history, Antoine confronts his cruel foster mother who stands stoic with Nadine and insists that they did him no harm. Antoine stands his ground in making them understand that they did not succeed in breaking his self-being. Antoine declares to them,
"What you tried to do, you couldn't destroy me. I'm still standing. I'm still strong. And I always will be."
After an interrogation, his foster mother tells Antoine his father's last name, and he eventually finds his relatives. There are a lot of positive elements in this film. Troubled Antoine Fisher reacts to the world around him violently because he does not know what else to do. Nonetheless, he is a good-hearted man who avoided poor choices such as drugs, crime, gangs, illicit sexual relationships, common among urban men who were forced to grow up on their own. Given the abuse of his past, it would be easy for Antoine to fall into addiction, hopelessness, and despair. Instead, he is enamored with the need to improve and the possibilities of change. Do you think it's possible for someone who had problems all their life? He trails off while talking to Davenport. Do you think they can change? There is something at work deep inside of Antoine that makes him continually strive to be a better person. Moreover, he sees the urgent need to deal with his bottled-up rage as he was concerned about Cheryl and the impact this ugly part of his life may have on her. Throughout the film, viewers are made to see, through the lives of the characters, how potent decisions drive the course of our lives. Antoine's father, an adulterer, gets murdered by his mistress. Antoine's friend, a petty thief, loses his life during a robbery attempt. Antoine's mother abandons her child and suffers for her selfishness. Antoine, who is soundly reprimanded, demoted, and fined for his lack of self-control. Davenport and his wife, having trouble communicating, endure hard times until humility and effort help them right the ship of their marriage. Antoine painstakingly walks through the murk of his past to confront the people who abused him and let him down, but without vengeance. Meeting his birth mother for the first time after she abandoned him, he avoids berating her. Instead, he freely shares his emotions with her, delivering a heartfelt monologue about himself and the things he has accomplished in life.
I've traveled the world. I speak 2 languages. Never fathered any children. I've never done drugs or even smoked a cigarette. On the way to school each day, I imagine you were just around the next corner. And when I get there, you would be there. And then you would take me home. I'm a good person. I'm a good man.
At this point, after all that he said and done on the Cleveland trip, a great shift occurs. Antoine is reborn. He is no longer a defeated victim. Through fearless tenacity, he has successfully turned his life of terrible circumstances into a life of forgiveness and self-empowerment. It's no wonder Davenport tells him towards the end of the film, "You've beaten everybody who was beating you." It is beautiful to see that at the end of Antoine's journey to confront his past, The idyllic dream the film opened with becomes reality. He returns to his aunt's house to find the reunion in his honor. He is greeted by this extended family and summoned by the elders to a banquet table, where he is given a place of honor and welcomed. Antoine's story is counterpointed with the story of Davenport and his wife. There are issues in their past too, and it would seem that in a sense, Davenport and Fisher have been in therapy together, and his life too has gone through positive change.
My wife and I, we were gonna have a bunch of kids when we found out we couldn't have any. And it rocked her to the core. I knew what to do for her, though. She needed help, treatment. But I, the well one, the strong one, at the same time, I went about the business of shutting down. Very subtle, very quiet. It was my little secret. Until one day, a young man came into my office and into my life, and he blew up that little secret right in my face, and he put me to shame. You don't owe me anything. I owe you. You're the champ, son. You've beaten everybody who was beating you.
Antoine Fisher is an emotionally touching film. An overcomer, Fisher doesn't play the victim or blame the system, even though it would have been logical to. Instead of accepting that he's no better than the hand he's been dealt, he chose to improve on his life. He realized the need to trust another human being to help him, and the healing that occurs and the friendship that develops was beautiful and deeply inspiring. He realized that he had the power to choose how he will respond to childhood memories that haunt him and the people he confronts in day-to-day life, and he did just that through willpower and tenacity. Without a doubt, this is a film about second chances and the will to turn one's life around and make of it what one wishes. It also emphasizes how crucial it is to have people willing to extend a helping hand, even if all one has to give is an encouraging word as a genuine gesture of care. That gift alone can save a person's life and give them hope for the future. What are your thoughts about the movie? Are there any other lessons you'd like to share? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Our aim is to inspire and empower you on the path to your goals. Also, if you'd like to further support our channel, check out the links in the description. All the support we receive will go towards creating new high-quality inspiring videos for the channel. Stay real, stay blessed, peace out.